Cha.
Took this as low-grade dog food, all right? And here, take this for yourself, okay? Shit, I had better food at the ball game, you know? I tell you, this steak still has marks where the jockey was hitting it.
For you. You know how you were supposed to be on the show like 3 weeks ago?
Right, we talked about it and schedules didn't work, all that.
Yeah, schedule didn't work, yeah. And that's the last time this show was actually out.
Oh.
And the thing that stinks most is the whole reason we didn't do a show that day is because my cable company, left a thing. They were like, yeah, so your internet is going to be out, and we don't know when, and we don't know for how long, but we know that your internet's going to be out that day, and that's why I moved you or tried to move you, and then other things in life and whatever. And the punchline is they never even took out the internet.
Of course.
Yeah. So the whole day, I'm like, well, I'm not going to do anything because maybe I'll go outside. Or something. Yeah. So anyway, Tom Merritt is here with us, though, everybody. Restarting this show and wrapping this week. We've talked about Sword and Laser. We've talked about Free Tom. We've talked about Daily Tech News Show. Is there one other thing you want to tell people about, sir, before we go to dinner?
Yeah, TomMerrittBooks.com.
Okay.
Yeah. If you like science fiction, you might like the stuff I write. In fact, most recently, I put out an audiobook that my friends over at Serving Worlds produced. I don't read it. It's professional actors reading it and doing a heck of a job, called Project Vera, about a secret ancient country that has guided world events for most of the world's history until they meet Vera's brother Rob, and then they're worried that could make everything go wrong.
Okay. You've told me just enough to have no idea what's happening.
Yeah, go check it out, Project Vera.
Okay. And what was their website again?
TomMerrittBooks.com.
TomMerrittBooks.com. There you go. So I love Tom Merritt's sense of humor. I sent him a thing about a dinner party and said, 7 courses, 4 hours, 3 guests. And he said, so you want me to pick the menu?
Well, you were specifically about 7 courses. I'm like, I can pick the 7 courses too, if you want.
I say the 7 courses only, to give people an idea of the amount of time that we're talking about.
The 4 hours also kind of gave me an idea of the amount
That's
of time.
True. All right. There's a good point. All right. Well, but it's not just give me like, here's a sandwich. You can't leave for 4 hours.
You're sitting for 4 hours. That's a good. Okay. Yeah. That's fair.
So anyway,
it's the atmosphere that you're in.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. I mean, people are going to. Nobody's going to be coming and taking your plate the second you're done until you do the thing with the fork that lets them know that they should. You've got time. You've got a certain amount of refinement. You've got a guest list.
What's the thing with the fork that you're supposed to do?
The way you place your fork, if you put it a certain way, then that is an indication to the server that you're actually still enjoying your meal.
I don't know that way. I need to look this up.
So back off. Okay. Seriously?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I can't remember which one it is, but I actually had somebody remind me again the other day. Yeah. It's like if you tilt it face down, still on your plate with the handle off to the side, then that is an indication that you are still dining. Whereas if you put both your knife and your fork up near the top of the plate, that's an indication that you are...
Knife and forks together in the center of the plate pointing to 12 o'clock will indicate you have finished.
Okay. See, I didn't hear the 12 o'clock thing, but yes, I did know. Yes, I knew that there were ways to do that.
This is why I never get my check.
This is why you never get invited to 7-course meals with great people from history, apparently. But it's okay. Fine. Well, you can go to Nathan's. You can go to Pink's if you want to. It's fine, man. You've got time. You got whatever food
Tacos
you want.
From the truck. I don't have to worry about all this stuff.
Sure. And then you got 3 people. I'm curious, who is the first person that you would invite to your dinner party?
This was really hard for me because I don't ever think about meeting. Sometimes people ask me, another question of like, oh, if you could meet any famous person, who would it be? And I always have a hard time answering these questions. So I went historical because I am a bit of a history buff, and I went first with something technological because I'm very much into technology. And I thought, you know what I'd like to do? I would like to talk over this 7-course, 4-hour dinner with Lady Lovelace about programming, about, what that meant to her and what she was doing when she assisted in creating the operating system that was essentially the first operating system, so to speak, whether she would even consider it an operating system and all that. I think that'd be fun.
I'm trying to remember. I feel like either Allison Sheridan put her at the table or gave her honorable mention. She may have said that she was somebody that she would like to invite, but there were these other people that she wanted to invite.
Got it.
I'm not sure. But when you say invented the operating system, can you tell us a tiny bit more?
Well, sure. So the usual person that gets credit for the first computer is Babbage,
Right.
because of the analytical engine. That was the word I was looking for. But Lady Lovelace helped him create the programming for it, like how to actually. He created the machine, but she created how you would use the machine. So, I mean, it is a stretch to call it an operating system, given what an operating system does now. But the machine wouldn't have been able to do anything if she hadn't figured out, like, oh, this is what you do.
Right. Okay. Far out. Your second guess, sir?
My second guest would be King Arthur, the historical person who gave rise to the legend.
Okay.
So I'm not expecting, a guy, wondering why the table isn't round or anything like that. I want to find out who this guy really was. So if this, under the rules of this game, if I can say historical real Arcturus of Rome in Britain,
right,
and I can be like, all right, dude, so what did you do? Is any of it even remotely related to the Arthurian legends? And get down to the idea of like, oh, so that guy was Merlin. Oh, that's why they got the round table thing. That was never in there. You never even heard of that before. I think that'd be a blast.
Huh. That's really interesting. I mean, what? Well, okay. All right. I like that. Who's your third?
I decided for my third, because I'm currently learning Korean, to go with Sejong the Great, who created the Korean alphabet, the Hangul alphabet, because to me, I am fascinated that in a world dominated by China, and even into the 20th century, Koreans often used Chinese characters still in signage and in official documents, that back in the 1400s, the de facto emperor of Korea, the Joseon dynasty, decided to create an alphabet to make it easier for people to write, which is exactly the opposite of what most cultures did. They didn't want to make it easier. When you made it easier for people to write or read, you usually had some powerful entity try to stop you. But Sejong the Great was able to do that. And the alphabet is fascinating too, because theoretically it's built to be representative of the shape your mouth makes when you speak.
Really?
Which, like the Roman alphabet, we're like, I don't know, it seems to just kind of be random. Like the A is just the A and you have to memorize it. But there was a kind of a more modern artificial creation of Hangul that I find fascinating.
No, so I mean that would, well, I say that would obviously explain it. Like I had no idea what you were talking about a minute ago, but I mean the fact that somebody set out to do that, because I mean the Roman alphabet, I don't assume that the Roman alphabet was a thing that was created. I assume that it was a thing that was sort of evolved over a period of time.
Yeah, I mean as far as I know, it was the Phoenicians created an alphabet that sort of got adapted into Greek, which then got adapted into Roman, which then became our modern alphabet. Like you say, it was, I guess, created by the Phoenicians at some point. For whatever reason. But if I remember right, the Phoenicians alphabet was just an adaptation of marks that were made for accounting purposes.
Right. I was going to say the whole thing would have come, I would think, and it's just guessing, but the whole thing would have come from like cuneiform or things further back. Yeah, which that's always weird to think about. Like I think, and this is completely random and totally different, but I think about the first guy who looked at a seagull eating a crab and looked at a crab and went, I could probably do that. You know what I mean? I mean, we end up with written language. We end up with Beowulf because at one point somebody looked at cuneiform and said, but I want to say something besides 3. Do you know what I mean? I mean, somewhere along the way, it sort of, I would think, evolved into it. But I don't know. Maybe Phoenicia the Great actually sat down and was like...
And even then, it was a class of people that wanted script for their purposes. It wasn't meant to help anyone. Whereas Hangul was created specifically so that uneducated people could be better educated. which is we think of that as a very modern, like, 18th century, maybe 17th century idea, but it goes much farther back in Korea.
See, I can see Sejong the Great and, forgive me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, and Lady Lovelace actually having a lot to talk about.
Right, because they both kind of created operating systems of a sort. They created languges of a sort.
Exactly. And then, you and Arthur could just, chat.
Yeah, Arthur's going to be like, here's the problem with this. And I did not consider the group enough in this because it is a dinner. But Sejong and Ada are going to have to chat with each other when I'm talking to Arthur, because I have a feeling that I'm just not going to be that interested.